zipping and unzipping the suitcase whilst whispering. I'm going to whisper, reading from a book. I'm going to use the QI book of General Ignorance, which has facts in it. A generation of television chefs have had us believe that the hottest bit of a chili pepper is its seeds. Not so. It is the central membrane to which the seeds are attached. The membrane contains the highest levels of capsaicin. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. The colourless, odorless compound that gives chilies their distinctive heat. Chili heat is measured using the Scoville scale, created by American pharmacist Wilbur L. Scoville in 1912. In his early tests, Scoville mixed a range of chili extracts dissolved in alcohol and diluted in sugar and water. He asked a panel of testers to consume a range of concentrations of various chilies until they ceased to taste hot. A numerical scale was then devised according to the heat of the jalapeno pepper, for example, is said to have 4,500 Scoville heat units, SHU, because it has to be diluted 4,500-fold before it loses its heat. The hottest chili in the world is from Dorset, on the southwest coast of England. Michael and Joy Michaud's Dorset Naga. Naga is Sanskrit script for serpent, was grown on a plant from Bangladesh. It was tested by 2 American laboratories in 2005 and came in at a plate torching 923,000 SHU. Even half a small naga would render a curry inedible, and consuming a whole one would mean a trip to the hospital. Despite this, 250,000 nagas were sold last year. To put it in perspective, pure capsaicin powder delivers 15 to 16 million SHU. It is so hot that pharmacists who experiment it must work in a filtered tox room, wearing a full protective bodysuit wasn't intended to discover a new continent, but to prove that Asia was much closer than anyone imagined. He was wrong. Columbus never actually set foot on mainland America. The closest he came was the Bahamas, probably the small islands of Suitcase, but he made his crew swear on oath that, if asked, they would say they'd reached India. He died in Valladolid in 1506 and remained convinced that the end that he'd reached the coast. Convinced to the end that he'd reached the coast of Asia. There is a remarkable degree of uncertainty about Columbus. Most of the evidence points to him being the son of Guinness weaver called of a Genoese weaver called Domenico Colombo, but there are enough inconsistencies for him to be claimed as Sephardic, Jewish, Spanish, Corsican, Portuguese, Catalan, or even Greek. He spoke the Genovese dialect, not Italian, as his first tongue, and learned to read and write in Spanish with a marked Portuguese accent and Latin. He even wrote a secret diary in Greek. He spoke the Genovese dialect. Sorry, I've already read that bit. We don't know what he looked like, as no authentic portrait survives, but his son claimed he was blonde until the age of 30, whereupon his hair turned completely white. We don't even know where he is buried. We do know his corpse had its flesh removed, and was the style for the great and the good in the 16th century, and that his bones were interred first in Valladolid, then into a Carthusian monastery in Seville, then in Santo Domingo, Cuba, then Havana, then, and apparently finally, in Seville Cathedral in 1898. The next fact is about the metal silver. Silver, the best conductor of both heat and electricity, is also the most reflective of all the elements. Its drawback is that it is expensive. The reason we use copper wire in our electrical equipment is because copper, the second most conductive element, is much cheaper. As well as its decorative uses, silver is now mostly used in the photographic industry, for long-life batteries, and for solar panels. Silver has the curious property of sterilizing. Only tiny amounts are needed, just 10 parts per billion. This remarkable fact has been known since the 5th century BC, when Herodotus reported that the Persian king Cyrus the Great travelled with his own personal water supply, taken from a special stream, boiled and sealed in silver vessels. Both the Romans and Greeks noticed that food and drink put in silver containers did not spoil so quickly. Silver's strong antibacterial qualities were made use of for many centuries before bacteria was discovered. This may also explain why silver coins are often found at the bottom of ancient wells. A word of caution before you start filling your silver tankards. First, while silver will certainly kill gloves are impregnated with silver to stop their feet smelling. Water is an exceptionally poor conductor of electricity, especially pure water, which is actually used as an insulator. What conducts the electricity is not the H2O molecules, but the chemicals dissolved in it. Salt, for example. Seawater is 100 times better at conducting electricity than fresh water, but it's 1,000,000 times worse at conducting electricity than silver. answer to depression to walk it off. Yes, it's at least as effective as drugs. Recent research involving subjects aged 24 to 45 have found that half an hour's exercise 3 to 5 times a week has the same or better effect on depression than drugs, regularly reducing symptoms by nearly 50%. According to Science News, placebos are more effective at curing depression than either drugs or herbal remedies. In a series of trials carried out between 1979 and 1996, Seattle psychiatrist Dr. Arif Khan found that St. John's Wort completely cured 24% of cases. The antidepressant drugs Zoloft cured 25% of cases, but the sugar pill placebos affected a complete cure in 32% of patients. In a more recent study comparing the antidepressants Prozac and Effexor with placebos, the drugs won with a 52% cure rate, but the placebos still scored impressively with 38%. But as soon as the deception was revealed, the patient's condition worsened rapidly. Many commentators believe that the context of the treatment, a clinical trial with lots of professional attention being paid to the participants, was an important conclusion. Seems to be that a combination of drugs and personal care produces the quickest and longest lasting cure. Meditation also seems to work. In a research project involving Tibetan monks recommended by the Dalai Lama, Richard Davidson, professor of neuroscience at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, asked the monks to meditate on unconditional loving-kindness and compassion. The result was an extraordinary pattern of gamma brainwaves, usually very difficult to detect. The implication seems to be that if trained to do so, the brain can produce its own dopamine, the chemical whose lack causes depression. Using drugs that lead your brain to stop producing its own dopamine almost completely. By training yourself to be positive, you can make yourself cheerful again. This may also be why placebos work. Belief is a powerful thing.